Haringi, and I'm going to talk about 501s today. As you can see in the symbolism of this card, it is people maybe not cooperating in the best of ways. They are more concerned with their individuality and their goals than maybe working together. So when you get this card, it can mean that there is a little bit of difficulties in teamwork. But depending on where this card shows up in your reading, if it is in the advice position, for example, it can mean that you're meant to stand out, you're meant to be more of an individual, you're meant to be more competitive. You're not actually meant to blend in, you're meant to more like stand your ground. And it can also mean that you're not too shy away from challenges, because there is more challenges in this card. You're not always going to get your way. People will maybe not be the easiest to be around. You might get opposition. There might be arguments, and people's opinions might really irritate you. There could be tension. However, if you shy away from situations like this, you might not find out who you really are either, because sometimes it's, when you're around these more stronger personalities, you learn a lot about yourself. So there are a lot of personality clashes in this card, mostly because everyone is so strong and everybody wants to get heard, everybody wants to get seen. But in the middle of it all, you get to also learn about who you are, and you get to push yourself and be even better. If this is in a love reading, it can mean that you're two very strong individuals who wants to be the strongest one in the relationship, and you want to be the one that leads, but the other person is not gonna just let you be the strongest one. They want to be the strongest one. So it's like there's fear of being the one that is the weaker one in the relationship, and no one's gonna let go of their position. So there could be a relationship that is kind of exhausting in that sense. It's always a battle. Love is a battleground, that sort of thing. If you're single, maybe you find that it's very hard to stand out. Maybe you find it's very competitive out there in the single market. Maybe you're not finding anyone you really, that you have harmony with. Maybe you feel like you're only attracting people that you kind of butt head with. In a career reading, 501s often speaks of jobs where you are in this sort of competitiveness with your colleagues. Maybe you are not loving it where you're at. Maybe you feel like where you're at, you're always butting head, you're not getting your voice heard. Maybe you are sidelined even, and you always have to fight for your position in your job. If it speaks of what type of job you're doing, it can mean a job that is like a competitive job, like a sporting career, physical work. It's very important to believe in yourself when this card is showing up. If you're asking yes or no, it can mean a more likely no, unless you really start believing in yourself and the outcome and take things less personal. It's a lot of kind of burnout seen in this card just because of what you're dealing with. So you have to really believe in the outcome and the desired outcome and in what you're doing, and focus on it entirely, and kind of ignore all the big personalities, and also maybe being a little bit less afraid of criticism, because when this card is showing up, there's plenty of opinions. And the opinions people are giving are not even valid. It's just opinions being thrown around. But they can still really stop the seeker if the seeker is taking it to heart too much. As feelings, it can mean that this card just means being irritated and annoyed, easily triggered. Maybe if someone even is a bit dysregulated emotionally, then just need to balance themselves and ground themselves. If you're asking how someone feels about you, it can mean that they're feeling a bit threatened by you actually, and maybe you hit a nerve. Maybe they just want to kind of get some kind of, they want to push back, and maybe they feel like you hurt them in some way, so they want to hurt you back. They feel like you're a very strong personality, and maybe they just feel like they're not being seen. Like maybe they feel like you're taking up too much room. In a relationship, it can mean that there's a need to clear the air. Maybe there needs to be more emotional freedom in this relationship. And yin and yang needs to be in some kind of balance here. So maybe the yin and yang is a bit out. There might be too much aggression. As a personality type, 501 speaks of someone who has problems with teamwork. They're too much of an individual. They could have problems with authorities as well. Sometimes they're very proud and they are fighting kind of battles everywhere, but it's really what they want to fight is their own insecurities. So they don't need to be in fight mode all the time. They don't have to correct every wrong. They don't have to fight for justice in every situation. I mean, it leaves them exhausted and overwhelmed and stressed and anxious by the smallest of things. So they need to be a bit more patient with themselves and others as well. This is someone who's fighting really a battle with themselves, and therefore they end up fighting the whole world. But if you get this card with Knight of Wands especially, or Knight of Swords, or Five of Swords, it can be someone who's quite toxic. Five of Wands in reverse can mean someone who has lost their individuality. So then you get someone who's afraid of conflict and who can't stand up for themselves, or they know once they start firing up, they just can't really balance themselves out, so they just kind of avoid all kind of conflicts. This is someone who's quite talented, but they're afraid sometimes of standing out and even winning a competition, so they're kind of holding back. This can be someone who's afraid of winning. They're afraid of actually standing out, but it can also be that they just don't believe that they can. And they could be, again, so afraid of getting attacked that they are afraid of even speaking their mind about anything. When it's reversed as a personality type, it can mean someone who needs love that is very kind of intense love, like they don't trust that anyone loves them unless they have it validated all the time, so they need that extra attention. They need to know that they're special, that they matter, but more so maybe than other people. And if they feel ignored, then they feel very, very overwhelmed, very easy, and it makes them want to just give up and or even act out to try and get some kind of attention back to them. They want to be more individualistic, but they're too afraid often of other people's opinions. If this card shows up for you, it could be a situation where you feel like, if it's reversed, that you just feel like this is a situation, there's no point even standing up, because it's not a situation that you really think it's worth fighting for, or have some kind of success in anyway. So it's kind of just like wanting something else, withdrawing from a situation. So there's a lot of soul searching needed really in this card. And once they start getting more in touch with themselves, that's when life starts flowing. But this card really is meant to teach the seeker about who they are. So let's have a look in the runes. What do the runes say about Five of Wands? And we want to know the essence of this card. Oracle mixing is really great for this sort of thing. So what I'm getting here is at the bottom, I'm getting Gebo. And I'm getting 5 runes, but only 2 show their face up, and it was Gebo and Evas, and they're both relationship runes. So 5 of Wands is meant to teach you who's important in your life and who isn't. That's the essence of this card. So it's actually there to show you who the important relationships are and who isn't important. If you're friends with everyone, you know one's friend, that sort of thing. So 5 of Wands is actually there to show you who is your most devoted friend, who's your most devoted partner. Like, that's what 5 of Wands is meant to be doing. So when you approach it that way, you can actually have so much success with this card, even though it's actually a card seen for struggling a little bit. So use this card when it shows up in your, or a situation that is like 5 of Wands, to let it filter out who your true friends are, who is your bestest kind of friend, who's your most devoted partner. And it's someone who can handle you, basically. They can handle all of you, even if, you know, when other people say you're too much to handle, 501s is there to show you that you're not too much to handle for the right person. And that's what 501s is saying. Okay, guys, the next card I'm going to do is 6 of Wands. Bye!